So we're here with Sarah Havens, an attorney for what was the law firm?
Allen and Overy LLP.
Okay, Allen Overy LLP. Sarah was a legal counsel for a number of the detainees held at Guantanamo. Sarah, can you maybe give a little insight to our viewers about really what's life like there for a number of the detainees?
Well, Guantanamo is split up among several different camps. The minority of detainees are held in Camp 4, which is reserved for detainees who are cooperating with their interrogators, who are compliant, whatever other criteria the military uses, which I'm not fully aware of. But those detainees have some element of communal living and are able to eat together, pray together, things like that. Most of the detainees, however, are held in camps 5, 6, and 7, which are essentially solitary confinement, maximum security prisons. And the detainees that are held in those circumstances get very little rec time, are only able to communicate with each other by shouting underneath the doors of their cells. So the military doesn't call it solitary confinement, but that's essentially what it is. And they've been held there, many of them, for years now.
Okay. With the idea that Guantanamo is closing within the next year to 2 years, if that's a right estimate.
President Obama has said he would close it within 1 year, which by my count would be January 22nd, 2010.
Okay.
And I'm going to hold him to it.
Very well. What are, in your opinion, what are the major obstacles ahead for the Obama administration?
Well, I think closing Guantanamo is a lot easier than some people make it out to be. In the film, Colin Powell says that he wouldn't close Guantanamo tomorrow, he'd close it this afternoon. And I don't think Colin Powell says something like that unless he has a plan in mind. And in my opinion, I think what should happen is that the first thing the Obama administration should do is release those detainees who have been cleared, who it does not intend to prosecute, which I think would be the majority of detainees at Guantanamo. They've held these men for 7 years. They've interrogated them countless times. They know what the evidence is. There's no reason to delay that process. The government has said, oh, well, we can't send some of them home because their home countries won't accept them. In reality, that's a problem for a minority of the detainees. For example, the Uyghurs, who are an ethnic Muslim minority in China, and they can't go home because they will be tortured and persecuted by the Chinese authorities. Now, the United States government and the detainees' lawyers agree that these men are not enemy combatants. They're not a danger to the United States. We should take those detainees and accept them into the United States, resettle them here, which would open the door for Europeans to accept other Guantanamo detainees. But the Europeans at this stage rightly say, this is your problem, why should we take Guantanamo detainees if you're not willing to take some that even you acknowledge are not enemy combatants? So I think, taking the Uyghurs should be the first step. Sending the detainees home that you don't intend to charge should be one of the first steps. And then for those detainees you do have enough evidence to charge, which I think would certainly include all of the September 11th plotters who have confessed in open court to their crimes, and a number of other high-level Al-Qaeda operatives, to charge those people in full military or full criminal civilian trials. I think they have enough evidence to do that, and I think that should be the next step.
Now, in your trips there, looking back on your very first trip, what do you think was the most surprising or, and I really hate to say the word memorable, but really what's the biggest image that kind of always pops back up to your mind?
Well, like anybody would be, going down to Guantanamo in 2005, the very beginning of 2005, when not many lawyers had access to the base. And we had all heard in the press numerous times about how the guys at Guantanamo are the worst of the worst, and they would slit every American's throat if you gave them half a chance. It's a little bit apprehensive, even as somebody going in believing that everybody, no matter how bad, deserves a lawyer in a trial. I was a little bit nervous. So it was really shocking to have the door of the cell swing open and you see this kid who's 17 years old who looks as terrified as I was of the situation. And so I think meeting the clients for the first time and just realizing that who was reputed to be there and who were actually there did not match up.
Right.
So that's something that sticks with me always.
Okay. Just one final question. We asked some of the producers here and a couple other people, but when somebody says the word Guantanamo to you, what's the first word that pops into your head?
Work.
Okay.
It's hard to put a fine point on it. I mean, I've been doing this for 4 years, and I wake up every day praying that some of my clients will get out, so there will be less of a weight on my shoulders of continuing to worry about the fate of my 10 clients. So, it's just been a constant source of stress and work for the past 4 or 5 years.
Okay, just a quick follow-up, just because that actually brings up, no, but that brings up a kind of a point I'd like to hear, is there any hope for your clients?
Oh, I think there's lots of hope for my clients. The people that I represent, even if you accept it as true what the military and DOJ has said they did, they're not accused of participating in any terrorist attacks. They're nobody. These are people who will be sent home as soon as the United States figures out what it's going to do with the Yemenis. So, I just hope that day comes sooner rather than later, because I've already spent the prime of their life. Most of them are all, 30 years old, spent their 20s in detention without any process whatsoever.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.